one second. Okay, sorry. To go with, I'll just brief you the OOPS principles once again. Just it will take around 2 to 3 minutes. I'll just share a screen so that you can just go through that. Okay. I hope it's clear to you. The screen is clear to you. Right. So I'm just going with the overview of OOPS concepts. You have already learned what an object is, what a class is, inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, and encapsulation. Okay. So we'll be using mostly all of these concepts in your programming, which we'll be doing in the future classes. So to go with brief, uh, I'll start with a class. Okay. So class is the basic building block of your object-oriented programming. It's a basic building block of your object-oriented programming, which does not contain any memory. So whenever you are going to work with a class, it does not have any memory in it. Okay. And it is a user-defined data type which holds its own data members and member functions. So whatever the members and functions you're going to include in a class, those are called as the data members, or you can blindly say that it is the member data of that particular class and it's a member function of that particular class. So whenever you have created a class, you have to create memory for it. So that can be done using the concept of an object. So object is said to be an instance of a class, which is a real world entity that is existing. So until or unless you create an object for a class, memory is not allocated. So when a class is defined, no memory is allocated. That's clearly specified over there. But when a class is instantiated, that is nothing but we are trying to create an object for that particular class. We are just trying to create an object for a particular class. Then only the memory is allocated. So in order to make it simple, object is instance of a class or something that is existing. Okay. So these are the two main components of your OOPSMA, object oriented programming concepts. These are the two main things through which you can work with the other components. Okay. Now talking about the third and most important concept or OOPS principle, you've got something called as inheritance. Okay, if at all you feel that I'm going a bit fast, you can just put it in the chat bot. Okay, so inheritance is nothing but the capability of a class taking on the characteristics of another class. So what you're trying to do in inheritance is you're trying to create a class, and from that particular
Hello. Hello students. Is my voice audible now? Hello students. Is my voice audible now? Hello. Anyone please respond.
Sorry, Amma, there's a power problem at my place, so net got disconnected.
Hello. Hello students.
Are you able to hear me? Please respond. Okay, fine. Wait a moment. I'll. Yes, Ma. Can you see the screen? Respond. So, I told you what inheritance is. Brief again. I'll just tell you what is inheritance. The capability of one class to derive the properties of another class is called as inheritance. So what we are trying to do is we are just trying to take the members of one class which was already declared into another class. That particular concept is called as inheritance. And in we have different kinds of inheritance in C++. So already we have discussed a few among them. I'll just go through it. Single inheritance, multiple inheritance, multi-level, C++ supports. Then going with the next one, next concept of hoops, we have got something called as polymorphism. So poly means many forms. One function doing n number of things. That leads to the concept of polymorphism. So I can say that if at all a function has got n number of different arguments with which, and you often kinds of polymorphisms now. So we'll be discussing that in the second unit. Poly means here. So one thing taking n different forms is called as polymorphism. Then the next OOPS concept is abstraction. So abstraction is hiding the internal details and just displaying the functionality is called as abstraction. What we have to do is trying to hide the complex things so you can make a end on the other side. Language, you should try to understand that every programming language will have a structure. Okay, so what a program is, all of you know. It is a set of instructions, you can say it is a set of instructions which are required to solve a particular thing. And I am going with a simple structure of a C++ program. Okay, so normally your C++ program is divided into these fundamental concepts. One is the header file section, that is C++ headers have written over there. Next is a class definition, which is one of the concepts of your C++ or OOPS programming. Then you have got member functions definition. Then you have got a main function. So I'm dividing my C program into 4 sections over here. One is header file section. Next one is class definition. Next is member function definitions. If at all you're working with any of the functions. Okay, and the last one is a main function. And whenever you remember that a class is not compulsory. So you can have a C++ program without a class and with a class. So you can write a C++ program in 2 ways. So it's not necessary that you have a class definition. Okay, but in order to work with the OOPS concepts, you have to work with the concept of a class. Okay. Next, the same structure with more information in it. Okay, so here what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to add something which is called as a global declaration section. Global declaration section, wherein if at all you want to work with global variables, all of you have an idea. I think you have something called as local variables and something called as global variables. So there's a place where you can declare the global variables. That particular place is called as a global declaration section. Then you have the same thing, class declaration, and after that you have the next section which is called as method definition section. After the class or within the class, you can declare it anywhere. Then you have the main function, and if at all some of the functions are left out, you can also declare after the main function. It's up to you. Okay, so this is just a modified version of your C++ structure. Now see, whatever the point I've told you, note that C++ provides the flexibility of writing a program with or without a class. and its member function definition. So if at all you're working with a class, you will be having some member functions within the class. So in that particular class, you can go with a member function definition. Okay. And then a simple C++ program without a class includes something which is called as a comment, header, namespace. What is namespace? I'll let you know. Then you have got main, which can have the input output statements similar to your printf and scanf of your C language. Okay, so here you're not going to use the concept of printf and scanf, rather you have got input and output statements which are different from your C language. Okay, and whenever you're writing a C++ program, try to include the concept of comments. Usually your C++ program starts with a comment section. Usually your C++ program starts with a comment section, and that comment section is not compulsory. So you can ignore the comment section. Okay. And these comments are not executable statements. So it is not seen by the compiler as an executable statement. Rather, a comment is giving some information about the program, about the programmer, about what the program is going to do, or when the program was written, what was the purpose of writing the program. Okay, so I've given few examples over there of what a comment can be. A comment can be name of the program. So it might be addition of two numbers, or write a program to implement a stack, or print the elements of an array, anything it can be. Next, you have got name of the person who is writing the program. So if at all I want to know the name of the person or name of the programmer, I can write it in the comment section. So date at which it was written, all that stuff can be written in the comment section. Now, as you have already done in your CM, you have got two types of comments over here in C++. The first one is a single line comment, and the second one is a multi-line comment. Okay, whereas a single line comment is used for line by line description. So whenever you feel that your comment will end in a single line, whenever you feel that your comment would end in a single line, then you go with the concept of a single line comment. Okay, and if at all you want to specify that whatever you're writing is a comment, you have to use a double slash before you actually start the comment. Okay, I've given an example over there, double slash program to add two numbers. Okay, so that would be treated by the compiler as an comment, and that would be ignored. Okay, then you have got multiple multi-line comments. Multi-line comments, if at all you use these comments whenever you feel that the comments would be more than one line. So if at all you want to write a paragraph of comments, if required, you want to write a paragraph of comments, then you are going to use the concept of multi-line comments, and it is represented by a slash followed by star. Then you, whatever you want to write the comment, you write it. After that, again you have to use a star followed by a slash. Okay, as an example, I've written an example to demonstrate a C++ program. Okay, an example to demonstrate a C++ program. I could have written that in the single line. But what I'm trying to do is I am just trying to differentiate between a single line comment and a multi-line comment. That is the reason I have made it to the second line. So example to demonstrate a CPP program, and I've used the comment symbols which is actually given to us. Okay, and so blindly comments are ignored by the compiler. So I can write whatever way I can use the comments. That should not be your criteria. So as an example, to make you caution, I'm just using the concept of a for loop. So I've taken a for loop for int I is equal to 0, I less than 10, and I plus plus. So I wanted to show it to the users that this loop will iterate for 10 times. So this loop will iterate for 10 times. That is what I've written in the single line comment. But what I've done here is, before the completion of the for loop, I have written the comment. So I think it's clearly shown over there. You can look at the cursor. Int I is equal to 0, I less than 10. After that, I've used the concept of a single line comment, 2 slashes. Loop runs for 10 times. After that, I've written I++. Now what will happen is, once the compiler sees these 2 slashes, it will feel that it is a comment and it is of no use for the compiler. So what will happen? My for loop hasn't been completed because I have to go with the increment or decrement section followed by the closing brace. So this particular statement, even though you're using the correct version of your comment, it is giving you an error. So be careful while you're working with the concept of your commenting. Okay, it is only used to make your program a bit understandable to the person who is going to use it now. Just try to keep that in your mind. Okay, so this is about the comment section, which is again not mandatory section while you're working with your C++ program, but it will improve the readability of the program, the understandability of the program what you're going to work with. I hope it's clear. Next, I'm going with the header file section. So what is the use of header file section? So I think you might have used in C language the concept of Printf and Scanf. So what is the use of Printf and what is the use of Scanf? Each one of you knows. So whatever is present in the Printf, that would be displayed onto the IO devices, which is nothing but it's an output statement. It would be displayed onto your monitor. But are you writing any functionality for that particular printf function or for that particular scanf function? No, because these are predefined functions, and these are predefined functions which are kept in the header files. Okay, once the compiler sees the symbol hash, it comes to a conclusion that this particular thing, whatever I'm going to write, is a preprocessor directive. So which is being pre-processed by the compiler before actually the program starts. So there is a functionality written for printf, what job the printf has to do in your standard IO, stdio.h. Similarly, you have got the concept of header files in your C++ programming. Okay, now if at all you want to use the concept of IO in your C++, you have to include the IO stream, which is similar to your stdio.h in your C language, C programming language. Here, hash include IO stream will include the IO functionalities into your program without writing any of the functionality of the IO statements or IO functions. So here try to remember, again it would be coming in the future classes. In order to input something, you're using something called as an CIN function. And in order to print something out onto the monitor, you're going to work with something which is called as cout. Okay, now I'm just going with, so lines beginning with a hash symbol are directives, read and interpreted by what is known as a preprocessor. There are special lines interpreted before the compilation of the program itself. Okay, and in the above case, I've clearly mentioned that include IOStream instructs the preprocessor to include a section of standard C++ code known as header IOStream that allows you to perform the standard input and output operations. Clearly what I told you, cin and cout. Okay, right. And some of the examples have just taken two over here, Amma. One is, if at all you want to include the math functionality into your program, you're going to use something called as math.h. So if at all you want to find the square root, if at all you want to find the power, log, all that stuff, you're not going to write its functionality. Rather, you're just trying to include this particular stream. So which is nothing but math, and you've got time, you've got string, file, all that stuff. You are having the liberty of using them without writing any functionality for that. That is the concept of your header files. Next, there's something called as a main function. So all of you know that main is the starting point of a program's execution, and usually we'll be working with only one main function. So in the main, whatever you're writing, those things would be executed, and once you're done with the complete program, then you would be provided with an output. So the main is a startup function that starts the execution of a C++ program. This is what you might have learned in your C programming language also. The compiler executes all the instructions being written in your program. Okay. So, and before you actually try to use a variable, you have to declare those variables. You have to declare those variables using the concept of a syntax already I've given over there, data type followed by variable name. So in order to make it simple, I'll say that variable is something which is able to vary in the with respect to time in the program. Okay. So the syntax for declaring a variable is data type followed by variable name. Okay. Now, once you say that a variable can be declared, you have got something called as initialization of a variable. Initialization is nothing but giving some initial values to a variable at the time of its declaration in the program. So if at all you want to give some specific value to a variable at the time of its declaration, then that particular concept is called as variables initialization. And the syntax for initializing a variable is you have to specify a data type followed by the name of the variable. You are using the concept of an assignment operator is equal to value. So data type variable name is equal to value. Example, integer width, I'm just taking it as a variable, followed by height is equal to 5 and age is equal to 32. So in this particular statement, int width is just the declaration of a variable, height is equal to 5. I'm trying to use the concept of initializing a variable by assigning it a value 5 using the syntax that I've already given, followed by age is assigned a value 32, which is nothing but initialization of a variable in C++. So when you want to work with variables, you need to follow certain rules for declaring variables. So at the time when you try to declare variables, you have to follow certain rules. Okay, those rules are given below. The first rule is your variable can consist of letters A to Z. It might be uppercase letters, it might be lowercase letters. You can have digits 0 to 9 followed by a special character which is called as your underscore. Okay, but whenever you're working with the name of a variable, the first character must be a letter or an underscore. Usually go with a letter so that you try to understand it properly. The first character must be a letter, and if at all you want to use blank spaces, Amma, try to understand that blank spaces are not allowed. The compiler would immediately throw an error, assuming that you're trying to declare two variables without any separation in terms of the two variables. Okay, if at all you want to declare something called as average height. So integer average followed by height. You're just trying to give a blank. So compiler will assume average is one variable, height is one variable. And since you haven't put a comma between these two things, it would be treating as two variables and it gives you an error. Instead of that, what you have to do is you have to use it as average underscore height. Okay. Special characters like hash symbol, dollar symbol are not allowed while naming of variables. C++ keywords cannot be used as variable names. We'll be discussing what C++ keywords are, what is a keyword. So all those keywords cannot be used as variable names. So as an example, I can say that if is a keyword, I cannot use that if. Variable names are case sensitive. I hope you understand what is case sensitive, and try to make variable name as meaningful as possible and as short as possible. Okay, the length of the variable name could be up to 31 characters. And if at all it is more than 31, all the other things would be ignored by the compiler. But whenever you're working with names of the variables, try to make it as short as possible. Okay. And the type of variable can be character, integer, float, double, all that stuff. That would be with respect to data types. So based on the data type, you are going to declare the value for a variable. So here is a small program to show the usage of variables. Actually, what are the different kinds of data types in your C++ are not covered yet, but you might know some of the data types like integer, all that stuff you would be knowing. So here I've just used few variables, x, y, and result. So see here, I've declared something called as integer x is equal to 5. I've initialized the value of x, which is an integer, and that is being initialized to 5. Then I've got y is equal to 2. And I'm trying to find the product of two numbers, display the result. Okay. What is using namespace? Why I'm using namespace? As of now, ignore it. Okay, we'll tell you in the future classes. So I'm working with hash include IOStream, that is for your input output. Then I'm using the concept of using namespace std. I'll just go to the previous program, just have a look at this particular statement over here. Here I did not use the concept of using namespace std, and that is the reason I had to work with std : followed by cout. So std : followed by cout. This particular operator : is called as your scope resolution operator. Don't worry about it now. So it's called as your scope resolution operator. And in the current program, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use the concept of using namespace std and see the cout statement over here. So I'm not using std : after that cout. So whenever you want to use directly cout, you're going to use the concept of using namespace std. We'll explain it clearly in the future classes. Okay. So here what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to just write a small program of multiplying two numbers. And then the same thing, I'm working with the concept of global variable declaration. Okay. Include IOStream. Don't get confused with the programs as of now. Just it is how I'm going to work with the concept of variables. That is what I'm trying to do over here. Okay. Right. Here I've taken two variables, integer x comma y as global, followed by float f. Then I've got the main function. Then integer total followed by float f. Now, what my question over here is, I've taken a variable float f as global and a float f as local. Is it a valid declaration or no? Just try to analyze that. Is it a valid declaration or is it an invalid declaration in your C++? I hope you understand the question, Ma. I hope you understand the question. You can see the scheme. Okay, float f is declared over here in the global declaration and float f is declared over here in the local declaration. So I'm just trying to work with integer variables, float variables, x and y are variables over here. Try to work on this float. Is it possible or not? Just try to understand that. That's it. Okay. Then I'm just trying to find out the total and find the average over here, nothing else. I'm not doing anything with respect to the program. This is just working with the concept of variables. If at all you try to understand this small program, that is enough as of now. Here I'm just trying to show you what is global variable declaration, what is local variable declaration. Then in order to work with variables, you should understand the concept of data types in C++. What is a data type? What are the different types of data types? How they are differentiated or how they are categorized? It's not how they are categorized into different types. We'll tell you in the next session. I'm stopping it over here. If at all you have any questions, you can ask me. I'm stopping the PPT. You have any questions, you can ask. If at all you don't have any questions, we will go with the online quiz. Yes, Ma, shall I start the quiz?